It's not your fault that you're tired. There are actually ways that we can improve that, and we're going to get there. But first of all, remove that guilt and shame, because I have been there and I hear it all the time. It sucks. It's 5 p.m. I want to go to sleep. It's not your fault. It's your brain reacting to the environment, producing more melatonin early on. It might haven't been sun at all day. So you can hack it a little bit, get into
Uh-huh.
lighting therapy, going outside. There are ways for you to improve that. But at the end of the day, the idea is not to live in the summer while you are in the winter. The
Exactly.
idea is not that you have a summer routine in the winter. You cannot achieve that. So let's find the happy medium. That's what we are here for.
Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics Raw, Real, Relatable podcast. I'm your host, Susan Robbins, epigenetic human performance coach. This is where we discuss all things lifestyle, environment, food, exercise, work, mind, and social interaction as they pertain to epigenetic expression in a way that's relatable to everyone. So if you're ready to start viewing you as an individual, take control of your life and health, and get results, buckle up. Here we go. Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics Raw, Real, Relatable podcast. I'm your host, Susan Robbins, and this is the place we come to talk about everything lifestyle and environment and how it relates to our genetic expression. All right, people, buckle up. This one's going to be a good one today because my guest and I have just talked for 25 minutes, like just jamming on this stuff before I even hit the record button. And I said, okay, stop. I want this on the podcast. This is just too good. We're going to be talking today about living in alignment with nature's rhythms. And if any of you have been listening to me and hearing me with the PH 360, you know that I talk chronobiology. If you're doing the right things at the wrong time, it's not the right thing. If you're doing the wrong things at the wrong time, God forbid, and I'm talking like times of day, my guest is going to be talking about seasons. And you're going to jam on this. What we do, we like we said, we talk about the same things from different perspectives, but it really jives. And I'm super excited to have him on here. Like my energy, you guys know my energy is already high. Like it's it's like through the roof at the time of the day when I should be starting to come down a little bit. My guest today is Ruben Gomez, and I found out Ruben is not that far from me. And he's the founder of the Seasonal Movement, a transformative approach to living in alignment with nature's rhythms to unlock year-round energy, productivity, and well-being. As a coach, speaker, and advocate for seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, if anybody's heard of this, I have experienced it. Absolutely. And if you're a connector, I guarantee you've experienced it, to create awareness around this. And he empowers professionals to enhance their seasonal flow. But I use the word flow again, across all aspects of life, helping them to overcome seasonal challenges from winter blues to summer overstimulation, both of which I absolutely deal with. So it was like, oh my God, I read his bio and I'm like, he gets me. As I knew it'd be a great conversation. Welcome to my show, Ruben.
Thank you so much, Susan. I'm already having so much fun and I can't wait to keep going. Let's go.
It's going to be a good one. I love your mission and your impact. Again, the focus, helping clients overcome seasonal challenges such as the winter blues. Here we are in winter. I want to touch on these two, and then I want you to go into your story, how you got to doing this. But we're here in winter, so I want to grab people right now that are sitting here like I have. And I have two friends that were the same exact way. Now, they're both diplomats. They're total opposite from me on the PH 360 wheel. They're the night owls. They're a lot more chill than I am. I'm obviously wired. But the three of us laugh because it's okay. I don't want to do anything after 5 o'clock. It's dark. It's cold. Yeah. I want to curl up with dare I say, my cats. And they're the same way. And so we message each other, the funny memes that are out there. Like, I'll drink 87 cups of coffee because I don't want to get out of bed. And it can really, I just feel naturally, not just my physical energy, but my mental energy is just down. Now, luckily I live in a place, Colorado, which we get a lot of sunshine, But I told you earlier, first thing I do in the morning, get out of bed, throw open the blinds and the blackout curtains. And when it's sunshine out, even if it's below zero, I'm happy.
Yeah.
When that clouds, clouds, gloomy, I never, like, my energy has never peaked that day.
Mm-mm.
So I would love for you to talk a bit about the winter blues. Then I'll have you tell your story. And then, because, hey, it's even, I noticed yesterday it was like 6 o'clock and it was still light out. It's like the heavens
I
are
know it's changing. We're changing.
what's
Yeah.
happening? So then
Yeah.
we'll talk about this summer overstimulation. So how we can work with that before it even gets here. So yeah, talk some about these winter blues.
To follow the order and the sequence, I'm gonna have to prevent talking about myself to keep talking about the winter blues because my story begins there.
Do it.
It
Do
truly
it.
does.
Bring your story in. Let's do it. Start.
Okay, I am from Venezuela, so I grew up in the tropic and close to the equator, very mild weather between 70 and 80, and a lot of sun for the most part. We only get like little rainy season here or there. That's how I grew up. 21 years old, I moved to the Midwest. And when you hear about the weather and the four seasons, you never really think about cloud coverage and the sun. You only think about how cold it gets. Like, that's really it. But as you mentioned, and as we now know, thanks to circadian rhythms and the influence of the lighting, which, by the way, I'm going to be real today. So let's do this. I'm that weird guy in the airport with the glasses everywhere.
If you would have told me, I have my red blue light blockers that I would have put on, and we could have both been sitting here.
Yeah, I know. I'm the weird guy in the airport with the glasses. I'm a believer, and I moved to the Midwest 5 years into it. So I go through the 5 first years of my life here in the Midwest. I'm married at this point, and it was like a movie playing in the every single day. It was the same movie, and I would wake up late. Day. It's winter time, so it's February. And I will wake up around 9:30, which is pretty late compared to the sunrise at this time of the year. Maybe like 7:30. But I would probably wake up at that time, but I wouldn't get out of bed. And I'm just confused and a lot of anxiety and almost depression. And my wife goes to work. I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm in the house. And I get up finally, I go in the computer, I work for 3-4 hours, and the anxiety just keeps creeping up. I don't know what to do. And I just stop. And then I sit around in the living room, I start rearranging furniture. That was like a new house, and wait for my wife to come back. And we will have dinner, and I will be sitting at night with my eyes open and having hard time sleeping. And that movie kept playing itself for weeks until I told my wife, listen, this is happening. I'm feeling this way. And she goes, honey, you just have the winter blues. That sounds just like the winter blues. And I'm like, what is the winter blues? What's your problem? I don't have a problem. What's going on? Got totally defensive in that moment. But that was the door slightly opening. My awareness started growing from there. It wasn't immediate. Actually, this was over 10, 12 years ago. And quite honestly, there wasn't that much information on the internet. If you Googled the winter blues, or obviously if you Google seasonal affective disorder, you probably wouldn't find anything over 10 years ago. So that was me. And it took a while. It took a lot of experimentation. And that's why I'm so passionate about the seasonal movement. And that was my salvation, perhaps. That's what motivated me. And that's what got me out of that funk. And after I figured out how the seasons affect us, is how I start gaining success and traction in my life. I start gaining harmony. So the winter blues, and if you don't, it's just simply in the winter time, we feel low. We are sluggish in the afternoon. But there is also related issues with it. A lot of people have issues with sleeping because they might not have a good sleeping routine. They might sleep throughout the day and then they can't sleep at night. Basically, our circadian rhythm is out of whack with our behaviors because we don't really know how to adapt ourselves to the environment, to the change in lighting, temperature, the social dynamics. Like the social dynamics of January, February, and March are very, very different from December,
Oh,
November, and October. It's a completely different world.
completely different.
And since we go through all those ups and downs of holidays and meeting a lot of people during the fall, and then it's just a complete drop. It just goes away. You only see the male guy. Like that's your best friend, right?
I get to see him at a
Yeah, you
concert.
get
Of
to. Oh,
course.
you don't even get to see him. Yeah, so
No, I'm
I'm
excited
lucky
to see
enough.
him.
I get to see my neighbors here and there, but
Yeah, Amazon
it's a
drawing.
complete drop. So it's all about neurochemicals and how we, go up in cortisol and down in melatonin, and it's a chemical party happening in our brain throughout the whole year. That if we truly start paying attention to it, then we can start actually using it for our advantage instead of being a victim of the environment. The key thing is that it's constantly changing, and that's why it's challenging. That's why even studies and research, it has to be done for years, because whatever you're experiencing today, you're not going to experience again for another year. It's
Sure.
just constantly moving. So it's like a moving target. And the other side of the winter blues is overstimulation. It can also be called hypomania, that I got to experience in the summer. And the story is that I was fasting for 48 hours, and I do this every season now because I get such a good cleansing from not just my body, but my mind, and I get clarity.
Uh-huh.
And it became very obvious that it wasn't just the winter project that I was working on. I was working on the seasonal movement because I realized that the ups and downs were throughout the whole year. I thought the winter was the enemy, but then that same lack of balance and harmony in the winter, I was experiencing throughout the whole year. So that very extreme low, like led me to experience a very extreme high. So bringing that harmony to our lives is key. And the most beautiful picture we can see is the yin yang, how it's represented. That's really what we want to achieve throughout the year,
Uh,
instead of what I was experiencing, which was the stock market. If you see the stock market graph, it just goes up and down. You can't predict it, and it fluctuates, it's chaotic.
yeah.
That was my life. It wasn't just that I was low in the winter, high in the summer. It was up and down, springtime. So there are many. This is a multi-dimensional study, like a multi-dimensional field when we talk about the seasons, because we can draw from many different fields like neuroscience, like cognitive behavioral models, like circadian rhythms,
Uh,
like ultradian rhythms, like Western philosophy, Eastern philosophy. Those are the six components that I use to back everything that I talk about and my perspective on how to live with a good well-being and how to prolong our life and live a good life, not just right now, but throughout the whole or whole life.
yeah,
And,
yeah. You
and
want that
very
quality of life
importantly, it's
going
like
forward.
we can experience immediate benefits for the long term if we know how to live in harmony.
Absolutely. I see even just getting people to sleep at the right times, doing their workouts at the right times, complete game change. And I experienced
Absolutely.
just like you. I experienced it. I was doing everything opposite and just
Yeah.
never felt good. I thought I did because I didn't know any better. But like I say, you never know how good you can feel until you feel really good. And it's, oh, the light bulb goes off. And I had a client say to me, now I get what you mean by in flow. That might have even been my boyfriend. I don't
Yeah.
think that was
Yeah.
actually anything. I didn't understand what you meant by being in flow. Now I get it. And
Yes.
yeah, it totally makes sense. And it is finding that balance because I can go super low in the winter if I allow myself to. So it's really creating awareness around it and saying, a couple weeks ago, I said, I need connection. I need, I've
Hmm.
been holed up too much. It's, I like to do a lot of my work with new projects for my business,
In the
uh,
winter,
or in the winter
it's
because
perfect time.
right, it's the perfect time. It's
Yes.
nice and quiet, and I'm not
Yeah.
worried about being out at night because it's
It
dark
is
and
actually
cold.
the energy of the season.
It's getting you. It's what is it? Getting ready to hatch, right? So this is
Hmm.
I did it last year was my podcast, and it's a great time to do that because then you come and you emerge, and the as it starts warming up, and like I said, it's staying light later,
Uh-huh.
and it's just a whole different feel to it. So I said, I need to start getting out and socializing, and those friends that I tell you about will meet for dinner. Make sure
Yeah.
it's early dinner. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Which is great for your circadian rhythm.
right? I want to leave the house when it's still light, so I don't have the opportunity to go. Should I
Oh,
cancel?
that's a big one. That's a big one. Yes, that is a big one, especially if it's actually working out. Like, just leave the house before it's dark. Absolutely.
Because I'm done. It's
Yep.
cold.
I'm done.
Nope,
Yeah.
don't even want to go out in the dark, right? I'll be back when it's dark. That's fine. Then I'm ready for bed, but not to leave and go 7 o'clock. I don't want to be somewhere at 7 o'clock. I don't want to have to leave to go to somewhere at 7 o'clock. It's really hard. So I see that, and then so starting to get a little more social, and then comes the summer. And this is my time. And you're talking about the summer overstimulation. And every October is when I get labs done. And I'm usually, my lab work doesn't look too bad, but I'm exhausted
Yeah.
because I don't want to work. I love what I do, people. You all know that. I love my clients. But if I could be out in the mountains doing sessions and podcasts, I would prefer to be doing that while I hike.
Of course.
I've had consults sitting on my paddleboard.
You probably have a hard time just sitting still. That's really what it is. That's
When
really
it's
what it
nice, you
is.
want to be outside. So how do you get to that point to find that balance of, and here I am, an activator made to move. So I need to move. I want to move. I crave it. Being outdoors, it's where I find my peace and my creativity when I'm doing these things. For those of us that are like crazy like that, how do you find that balance in, I really want to do this. And oh God, now I'm gonna have to go. There's a concert. You have all your summer concerts.
Hmm.
And that's
Yes.
late nights that were not made for these late nights. So you get behind in sleep and then you're working early. It's
Yeah.
3 months of beautiful hell.
Yeah. So there is a bunch. There is different layers. Which layer you want me to peel first? There is the neuroscience understanding, truly understanding why this is happening. Let's just start there actually. But then just so you
Start with
know,
them.
there is three more layers we're gonna touch on. From a iceberg behavioral model perspective and from the iceberg conscious model perspective, we know that most that is happening in our brain is happening at a non-conscious level. Our brain is looking for signals, our brain is helping us survive, or our brain is just doing stuff we don't realize it's doing. I would say, and there's not an exact number to it. I have here 95%. There is numbers to it, but there hasn't been like this is the percentage that your brain is at a non-conscious level or at a conscious level. So it's really important to understand that from a environment perspective, when the environment changes, you are going to your brain, and talking your brain is going to release and create chemicals very differently. And when the weather changes, like the exterior environment changes,
Uh-huh.
your brain is going to react to it in ways that we don't even realize. The going to sleep early in the winter time is just one of them we realize, but there is hundreds of thousands of ways your brain is creating that beautiful chemistry that in our brains, right? So we have to understand that that is happening in the background and we don't realize. So we have to basically remove the chain. That's number one. It's not your fault that you're tired. There are actually ways that we can improve that, and we're going to get there. But first of all, remove that guilt and shame, because I have been there and I hear it all the time. It sucks. It's 5 p.m. I want to go to sleep. It's not your fault. It's your brain reacting to the environment, producing more melatonin early on. It might haven't been sun at all day. So you can hack it a little bit, get into
Uh-huh.
lighting therapy, going outside. There are ways for you to improve that. But at the end of the day, the idea is not to live in the summer while you are in the winter.
Exactly.
The idea is not that you have a summer routine in the winter. You cannot achieve that. So let's find the happy medium. That's what we are here for.
Yeah.
So that's just number one. And that kind of touch a little bit on circadian rhythms and our chemicals. And then from a philosophical perspective, what I want us to understand is that this has been spoken for millennials. All we're doing now is backing it up with science, which is great.
Mhm.
But traditional Chinese medicine and Eastern philosophy, even Western philosophy, touches on this. And this has been around for a long time. So, what we know from Eastern philosophy, like the most simple example is if you look at the yin yang, you're supposed to be low during a certain time of the year. So what I want you to do is that if you have an axis where you have percentage of energy, and then on the other axis you have time and starts in January and finish in December, and then you put the yin yang horizontally. That curve is the energy that we're going to experience. That is the energy
Makes
between the
sense.
dark and the white and the light.
Yeah.
Like that, we actually follow that. Nature follows that. And a way to look at it, that is an exercise that I always do, is to look into the seasons and do a map of your lighting environment. Meaning you pick the days of seasonal transitions and okay, the sunrise, the midpoint of the day where the lighting is the strongest, and then the sunset, and you fill that up. Like there's different websites you can just do it. It's manually, and you realize, wow, my summer is a day and a half compared to my winter. Like the lighting exposure that the days one and a half times longer than the winter. So realize that that has a dramatic impact in the way that your chemicals are flowing, the intensity, the timing, and the frequency. It all is related to that. So what I want us to understand is like, how do you come to a happy medium? And is that in the winter, we can use a routine that is specific for the winter that will increase our energy a little bit so that we still honor the fact that in the winter we are a little more self-resting, but we want to increase it a little bit because we are high achievers. Like we are seeking peak performance, and in today's society you still have to pay rent and you still want to achieve your goals, so you're not just gonna go and hibernate. So we want to increase it to a very healthy place. We don't want to go too high, but we want to keep it at a good place. And then in the summertime, since we know that overstimulation leads towards burnout, we want to take it down a little bit. So that's where the biohacks and wellness routines, whether it's meditation, breathing, there's different types of breathing. So for example, in the winter, I will use a breathing technique to increase my energy, which is like hyperventilation. I will. Yep. That will increase your energy, right?
Yeah.
But in the summer, since I force myself, and I highly recommend it, to take a power nap, even if you don't want to, but that will help your system take a little break. So I can't just go and take a nap. Like I'm just so high energy. I want to get going. So the first thing before that is doing a relaxing breathing meditation, like a box breathing meditation. So you see, it's like the same biohack, but utilized at in a different way because of what we want to achieve in that specific season. And it's because what our bodies and our well-being needs in that specific season. So it's being intentional about it.
Yeah. And I think that's the main word, is being intentional, creating awareness. And I tell clients this all the time, that if you get anything from this program, you're going to gain so much awareness, because we've been going through, we're so tech heavy that people don't know what they're feeling. Like, you knew you felt a little bit off, but this was normal for you. And it was the way I felt for 54 years, living like a diplomat, was normal for me. So I just knew I didn't have energy to do certain things or whatnot. But when you get into that flow of real, like that awareness, and I love, and I'm sure you do too, when you have someone you're working with, that light bulb comes on, or they come back to you and say, oh my God, I totally realized this. Like working out in the morning, what a difference. Doing the meditation at night as opposed to the morning or flip flop.
Yeah.
What a difference. Not going to bed at 1, 2, 3 in the morning. And you agree with me that nobody needs to be going to bed at 1, 2, 3 in the That's not the night owl
Wow.
we're talking about. That it that awareness is such a key because we're so robotic anymore. Everything is, we're just like those damn bots. when you call Amazon, the first thing you get is a bot. And it's just want to talk to a person. And we have become that. So no one's tuned in to what their body is until you start doing things that create awareness. And that is the first place to start. And it's just everything opens up. So I love what you're
There is three subjects that you talk. The first one, I'm not gonna go there because I'm not gonna go and start talking about industrialization and the way that it changed or routines and the way that we live and why we are in the stage that we are, and we are talking to robots on the phone and we have lights in front of us 24/7. Like that's the reason. But as we are talking about awareness, I think that is the key.
Yeah,
Is awareness is the
absolutely.
first step. So the awareness that I bring is external, and external factors are influencing all internal beings. When we're talking about the lighting,
Absolutely.
and when we're talking about the seasons, and when we're talking about conscious and non-conscious, and when we're talking about philosophy, that is external factors that influence our internal being.
Yeah, our
So
genetics, everything. Yeah.
yeah, the way that I flip the switch, and how I'd say 99% of either coaching or somebody looking to help somebody transform is that, okay, awareness is that piece of it. But then the way that we flip the switch is by the internal transforming the external. How we do that through behaviors. So now that we are aware, we can think and we realize how we feel. Now we can create behaviors that will align with the external factors so that we can think and feel the way that we desire to feel.
Yes.
So that comes to sleep, exercise, adjusting our nutrition. That comes to nurturing relationships, outdoor connection, and novelty. That has been scientifically proven. But again, this comes from Eastern philosophy, Western philosophy, spirituality. Like this comes from millennials ago. But now this is proved from a neuroscience perspective. So the key here is that if we know those 6 behaviors are highly positive for us to be at a peak performance in the moment and for the long term, the key is that if we create seasonal routines that we can be aligning with the environment, not just the external lighting and temperature, but also the social environments.
Absolutely.
If we can create routines that we keep all those in mind, and then we can transfer them to the next season and adjust them slightly as we need to meet the requirements of that specific season, and also be in alignment with the energy of the season. And we do that about 4 or 5 times a year. By the time you're done, you have a yearly routine that looks like the yin yang, and it's not just a straight line. It's not like you say, I want to make 120 grand this year, so I'm going to break it down in 12. I'm going to make 10 grand a month. That's not how it works.
No.
There is a flow to it. There is a flow to it.
Yeah.
So the same way is that without being aware, most way of creating routines nowadays is, okay, this is my ideal routine. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to go to sleep by 10 and waking up by 6, 7, whatever the case is. If you take that approach, I'm only going to talk about sleep. And you say, I'm going to go to sleep at 10 and waking up, let's say 6 a.m. 5, because that gives you, oh no, 10 and 6, that gives you 8 hours.
Yeah,
of
can you
sleep,
make till
right?
6, please?
Yeah, that gives you 8 hours, which we know will give you 6 patterns of sleep, 5 cycles, sorry. And that will give you a very good rest, both for your body and your brain and neuroplasticity and all these benefits.
Mhm.
So that will actually work well during a certain time of the year. but that will be very out of whack with your circadian rhythm. For example, let's call it summertime. If it's
Okay.
getting dark where you live by 10 p.m., which it happens where I live,
Sure.
that will be
Yeah.
the peakest time of the year. And you're trying to sleep by 10, you haven't produced enough melatonin in your system that you're going to feel sleepy. So the issue becomes that maybe you have the goal to go work out in the morning. So then you go to bed by 10, but you are not sleeping yet. Like you are just there. I call it eating the ceiling. Like you're there
Yeah.
trying to sleep
So true.
because you haven't wind down. Your body biologically is not primed to sleep.
Right.
And I'm not going to even touch about the lighting and all that can also be affecting that, but just the natural environment.
Mhm.
So the idea is that in the summer, why don't you go to sleep maybe at 11, which it sounds late, but then you also wake up late.
Mhm.
You wake up instead of 5, you wake up at 6.
Yeah.
And then you might not work out in the morning, perhaps. It's just an example. Or it might be a very light workout. You
Mhm.
go to work, but then after work is when you work out because now you have a longer afternoon. And then in the winter, since you're going to get tired early, since it's going to be dark early, then we know that it's because melatonin is being produced early and actually at a higher frequency because it's just so dark throughout the day. So why don't you plan and create your winter routine to go to sleep early?
Early.
Early for your kind of your standard, right? Everybody's a
Yeah.
little different.
Yeah.
But then since you're sleeping early and all you need is 8 hours, maybe a little more because there is a little variation there based on the season. Let's say it's 8.5. Everybody's a little different, but usually we can sleep a little more in the winter time. Then you wake up perhaps at 5 and you go to work out. Again, this is all very sensitive to the way that you feel, to who you are, but there are common threads. We're all human and we have this most of the same parts. We are a little different, but the idea is to find those patterns and get into them so that you experience harmony throughout the whole year and you stop resisting them, resisting
Yep.
those energies and those forces and those environmental cues and going against the grain.
Love it. So what about things like the blackout curtains where does that help to kind of trick the brain into thinking, okay, it's late. Like if I need to sleep, it doesn't matter. If I see light, I'm awake. There is just, if I see light, I'm awake. I get up to go to the restroom in the middle of the night. My eyes are closed because if I open my eyes, I want to be up. I'll see a light somewhere. So I have to use the blackout curtains as much as I can, keep things dark. Do you feel like those are good things to do to help have a room, get your blue light block, get the red ones, people. It's very different. These are my readers actually have blue light blocker too for being in front of here. The red ones take a little getting used to because everything looks funky.
Yes.
Funky.
Yeah,
But
it doesn't look as attractive. Like you can't see as much detail.
No, it's weird. But what I did notice, even the first night I put them on, and this was just, I've had them. I got them at the longevity conference almost a year ago.
Yeah.
And I just started using them because when I put them on the first time, I was like, whoa, I can't do this. And so I put them on a month ago and I sat down in front of the TV and I was like, I couldn't keep my eyes open. I thought, it can't be the glasses, but I wasn't tired before. So then I experimented the next time. I used this. I didn't get tired. It took a while. Then I used them again and it started I'm tired when I work. I feel like I'm more ready for bed at a more normal hour with these damn red blue light blockers.
Of course.
So these helpful things to do even like in the summertime. You close the blinds to get the light, the natural light out to help, because it is. I lived in Montana for 15 years, and up there it's still light at 10 o'clock, like you said.
Yeah.
And you're going like, how am I supposed to be tired?
So we live in a rhythm, and everybody's rhythm is different, and it's sadly not our natural rhythm for the most part. Is our work schedule. The kids' school enters at the same time throughout the year. They don't change that.
Sure.
As an entrepreneur, I do get to choose when I wake up and when I go to sleep.
Yeah.
And I have skylights in my room and I get a ton of light. I don't shade from anything. But what we want to understand is that what the glasses are blocking are the blue light,
Blue light. Yeah.
which is the most intense light around the meridian time of the day, like around the time where, if by noontime right now it's 12:30 is the strongest sun in the wintertime. In the summer, it might be 3, and it depends on the geographic location you're in. So there's a window of about 4 hours in between there that is the most blue light you're going to exhibit. So your brain, when he sees those signals, your brain can recognize the blue light, but our eyes doesn't. Like, actually, when I put this in, I can tell. For example, the sunset is not a very bright, and it's actually reddish. That's because there is not much blue light into it.
I never thought
So
about
the blue light is coming from primarily right now. The epidemic that we are experiencing from blue light devices is because our phones or computers or LED lights or TVs, they are full of very high frequency LED blue light. But the sun varies that light throughout the day. But the artificial light environment we have doesn't.
Right.
So if it's more damaging if you're watching TV before going to sleep than the sun that you're getting from your windows, perhaps at
Totally.
9 p.m. during the summertime. So I get to choose and I go to sleep after the sunset, but I also understand that there is people that have work schedules that they have to go into that. There have been experiments being done very interestingly from a circadian rhythm, the area of circadian rhythms that have put people into bunkers. So they grab a group and they put them into bunkers with no light, natural light at all, and then they put another group in the other bunker. And I don't remember the time, but it was a significant amount of days. And I'm getting out of topic, but this is the experiment: is that they put electromagnetic fields into one group and they let the other one with the electromagnetic field interruption, essentially, to get them out of sync with the natural world. And the group that wasn't having any electromagnetic field interference, they were still able to go to sleep at the same time and wake up at the same time in harmony with the lighting cycle.
Yeah.
Compared to the group that was in interference, like they were just having off schedules. So that to say that lighting is just one of them when we're looking at our circadian rhythm, and there is all sorts of lights. And we want to be aware of that. Also be aware that our phones have electromagnetic frequencies, or microwaves have them, and they interfere with our natural circadian rhythm. So we're basically getting attacked from multiple angles without really realizing. And I don't think nobody did it on purpose, but it's the environment we live in nowadays.
Sure. Agree. And I tell people, you don't realize how stimulating that TV is. And the people that have the TVs in their bedrooms, I said, the first thing, get it out of your bedroom.
Yes.
Right there. Well, I fall asleep with it on. Okay, but your brain, even though you don't have the light now, it's still stimulating, and you're not going to get that quality of sleep. It's going to be worse.
Correct. When we look at developing a routine, and the word seasonal is just because we accept the fact that the environment changes, so we want to adapt to it. But when we remove that and we just focus on our routine, we look at the same 6 behaviors that I just mentioned. A pre-bed routine is important to consider, especially from a circadian rhythm perspective, because of the lighting environment. So it is important to dim the lights as soon as the sun goes down, and just make it safe enough so that you're not going to be tripping, but avoid just cranking that bright LED throughout your whole house because it gets you out of sync. And again, talking about feeling well, performing well, you feel the difference. And you only 100%. Feel it once you notice both sides.
Yeah. When you start to feel, you feel that the sleep is definitely better, all of that. And I had a Reiki girl years ago. I'm talking like 6 years ago, gave me a red light bulb. Here, put this in. So I have that in my bedroom. So when I go in there to do my night routine,
Yeah.
I turn off the bright lights and I just turn on that light. And then I have my little makeup mirror light. So it's only that light. When that's done, I finish up and it's very calming. And the other thing I noticed with red light, I have a red light therapy as well. I've been, as you heard, I've been dealing with this back thing and it was really screwing my sleep with the pain. And now it's not the pain, but now my rhythm is so off because I was waking up so frequently with the pain at the same time of the day. I grab my red light canopy, and this could be like 3 a.m. Who does this?
Mhm.
And I experimented with it and I put it over me and put my little goggles on. And right away, it's like, "Ew, that bright red," but it puts me back out.
Yes.
And because I think, doesn't that help produce the melatonin? I don't know. That's what I thought I read.
What
Back, but
I'm not I don't go that deep into that. What I do know is that red light is better than
then the
white
blue light,
light,
the white
than
blue light,
blue
yeah,
light.
yeah. Yeah.
When it comes down to, the blue light will just completely remove the melatonin segregation happening, and the red light will not.
Yeah.
That's why in this case I'm wearing orange glasses, because it's easier to see, but it still lets some blue light go through. And then I'm not religious about it, but the ideal protocol is that once the sunset happens, then you switch
On
to
they go.
red lights.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
That's
that
what I'm trying to
filters
do.
most of it.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying. Like you said, that even if I tried to do my crossword puzzle because I sit and I do the paper ones. I don't do them online. Again, very relaxing. It's part of my
Yeah.
evening routine. I can have something on. I want to be mindless after I've been on here all day. And I get my crossword puzzle and I try to do those damn red, orange things. I'm like, I can't even see on the page.
Yeah.
So funky. So
So
then
get the orange ones instead of the red ones.
Okay.
And we touch on two subjects that I want to explore.
Do
And
it.
one of them is your puzzle, but first, before of that, I want to explore the fact that we tend to feel sleepy by 5 p.m. or 6 p.m., like a lot earlier than we wish in the wintertime. I want to go and dive deep on that aspect, and then I want
Let's
to
dive.
follow through the puzzle. Because sure, that is our natural tendency. That is our biology taking control over our minds, essentially. Because actually, your mind, if you are regretting that, but your biology is pushing you there, your biology is taking control over your mind. So the angle that I propose is that if we know that's our tendency, and it's a displeasing tendency to a certain degree due to today's environment or our own personal desires, because I would say that would be a great place to be for somebody that is retired and wants to rest. That is an ideal place to be. But I got 3 kids. I have to put them to bed. I have a business to run, and maybe going to sleep by 7 is not ideal, but I try to stay and go to sleep still early. My point being is that by paying attention of the timing and the activities that we are doing in that specific season, we can start seeing patterns. So the idea will be to move from sleeping at 7 to sleeping by 9. And it's not just to go to sleep, it's to actually feel cognitively at a high level, having a high level of energy in that specific season. So an example will be when we touch into sleeping, we already touch into varying and changing the time we go to bed and we wake up. The exercising is one that we also want to look into, which is at what time during that specific season exercises increases your energy. Also, what kind of exercises? For example, in the winter time, it's like my post season in baseball, and I'm all about like gaining power and strength. And I also like during that time of the year, the reason that I also do it is because I feel my testosterone go up when I do heavy lift and compound lifting. And I know that that gives me energy. Like I feel it. Like I feel vigorous. I feel the vitality coming out of me. So keeping paying attention to the type of exercises that we do throughout the seasons is also very beneficial. So what I propose is that we look at our exercises routine as a professional athlete. A professional athlete will have a peak performance season in that specific sport they play. and they want to prepare to get to that point. But if you look at the athlete in perhaps the preseason or the postseason, they're gonna be basically like out of whack. They're gonna be out of balance.
Uh-huh.
But when you look at the full picture at the whole year, you see the harmonious curve happening. Again, looking at the yin yang, like they are at peak performance during their season.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I believe that there is a lot of power, and that's where the seasonality comes in place. If you can segmentate your workouts and actually change them a little bit. For example, in the summer, I'm all about baseball. So my heavy lifts just go off of the picture. Like I do some maintenance, but I'm primarily just trying to prevent injuries, being fast, being powerful, and
Yeah.
have that balance. And then in the winter, I realized that I'm not having that connection that I experience with the baseball and that competition that I like and I thrive on. And I realized I also get a little bit chunky, a little bit. Like even doing all the lifting, it's not keeping me honest. Like I'm a little slower, which is fine. But then what can I bring in this specific season in the winter time as a sport, as an exercise that will be beneficial for my well-being on this specific season? So I
Mhm.
bring basketball.
Okay.
Basketball makes get my heart rate up. It gets
Yep.
me to compete. It's a really good exercise mixed with lifting to keep agile and move fast. And I
Mhm.
notice it also prepares me very well into preseason for baseball. So the benefits of basketball in the winter, I see them so much greater than if I do basketball in the summer.
Sure. Sure.
So it's matter of looking at that specific season and say, okay, what is the ideal mix throughout the year so I can commit to something that I want to enjoy, that I know that is going to make me feel great right now. Not in the summer. In the summer, it might not really make a dent. In the summer, actually, I might not even want to do it. I just want to do it in the winter because of its benefits, because it's
Mhm.
convenient, and because I know that that will make me perform better in other areas of my life.
Yeah. That's like me in the gym. I don't want to be indoors, like ever. But I go there, I do more bulking, more muscle mass in the winter. I cross country ski and snowshoe, but a little bit less often with the weather. I'm not going out
Yeah.
there in single digits. That's just not
Yeah.
my jam.
Yeah.
So I'm spending more time at the gym, but for a different reason, because I know once the spring and the summer comes and I'm outdoors and I'm hiking, I'm doing
Yes.
long cardio. If I don't have that mass buildup to maintain, I lose it from too much of the cardio. So so like you said, I'll do it in the summer. I'll do CrossFit and all that, at least weight things to make sure that I maintain that level so that I can do what I love to do at the levels I want to do it. But it's very different training the different activities. Even cross country skiing, different than snowshoeing. It's different than hiking. I'll do all of them in the winter, but the indoor stuff has to be to help there and to help maintain that muscle to do
Well,
that.
and there's 2 points in there. The number one is that you achieve, and I keep saying peak performance. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but peak performance means you
What it's
feel
about.
great, you
Yeah,
perform great.
optimal. You're in flow.
You achieve that when you cross lateralize activities. A lot of the problem that I see with people that want to work out is that they think they have to go to the gym and they think that they have to do that one thing. So they don't really even realize that there's going to be an end date to it. And they don't even realize that it's very inconvenient to do during certain times of the year. That's when you drop it and then you pick it back again when it's convenient and
Mhm.
you enjoy it. But then since you didn't put in a cutting off timeline for that behavior, that activity to stop, then you never realize that you actually succeeded at your goal. But you simply just went for 6 months and it became too inconvenient and you drop it off. That's where the seasonality, like breaking on year in seasons, allow us to commit to a specific routine for 3 months. And that routine is in alignment with what's happening around us and our energy levels, and is conducive to experiencing what we want to experience. Again, get us a little higher or get us a little lower. And then you achieve success. After 3 months, you can be, okay, now we're going to transition into a different season routine. And I completed this routine. I succeeded. So you know how that can be very motivating. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. For different
Eh,
ways, for the different health types. Everybody's
yes.
motivated differently,
Yeah.
right?
So like you are in the gym in the winter because it's very convenient. That's it. That's one of the few ways you're actually going to exercise. Right?
Yeah.
One of the few. There's ways to do it, but a lot of people is a lot more convenient to go to a gym, perhaps, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it becomes a convenient behavior. That's what you should be doing. And you get to enjoy it. You get to reap the benefits, but then it becomes very inconvenient when it's nice outside, when the temperature is perfect,
Yeah.
and then you want to go outside. But if you are not aware and you just keep beating yourself up,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. I- and then you drop it. You say, is you are not consistent. That's what people use. I'm not consistent. But you were very consistent when you needed to be. You just didn't realize that you needed to transition and
Yeah.
do the
Take
things
the
where
win.
your heart is leading you there. It's not just
Yeah.
your heart, it's your biology. Your
Yeah.
biology is leading you there. And
Well,
there is where you're going to get all the benefits that are there for you to get is there. So you should go there. So we're just intentional about that planning process so that we prevent just dropping things up and then don't picking them up. We document what we're doing. So next year, what do you think is going to happen? You pick up your winter routine again and you say, oh, maybe I need to tweak it at 10, 20% because my life changed. Now I have to maybe drop my kid at school. So you do a little change, but you already know that it feels great. You already know that it got you where it had to, where you want to go.
Yeah,
So then
that's
you go
purpose.
back to it. So all the heavy lifting is done perhaps at the beginning, and then you just continue to get in that flow.
I found interesting because you just brought this to my mind. My old CrossFit box, they closed in 2021, sadly, after the whole 2020 mess. But the year prior, they had put in an outdoor rig out in the alleyway, bolted it all down, had the mats out there. They put up a wall so we could all practice for Spartan. I would go to open gym or go to the class, and I would take all my equipment, my barbell, whatever, and I'd go outside and I'd sit there in the 90-degree sun and do pull-ups all day long in that sun. I was like, I don't want to be in. And I'll tell you that those 2 years of having that outdoor access were two of my best performing years
Yes.
because I could do everything I wanted to do outside. I was like a little monkey in the forest, right?
I agree.
It was even, and I remember like it started warming up, but there was still a little bit of ice left underneath on the mats. And I remember out there helping the owner. He's like, go chisel some ice if you want to use the rig. And I did. I did thinking I'm hitting it. I said, all right, I have enough where I'm not gonna hurt myself if I fall off, like slip on ice. And that's how important it was to once it started to get a little warm, I'll chip the ice just so I can be out there. So again, this really makes just so much sense. And it's biology. It's our biology. It's on my shirts. It's my biology.
It's biology. That's my point. Is I say my heart, but no, I mean, of course, your heart, but also your biology. And what I want to highlight is that you said those were the best performing years.
They were.
No, you didn't say those were the best performing times. Over the whole year picture, they accumulated to be the best years of your life. And that's what we're trying to achieve, getting that flow.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
now,
Even 2020 when people were hurting, I'm going, I'm loving it. We can do, because all the mask crap. Yeah, if you're inside, you have to wear the mask. And this is such bullshit.
Well, that's what triggered the environmental change that was beneficial.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
And so they had the outdoor rig. So they're like, you don't have to put anything on. We're not going to worry about it. So it was like freedom. And I was thriving in 2020 where people are, look at all the booze I'm getting from Costco and we're sick. And I'm going, never got it. I didn't do anything. I just kept playing, doing the things that my biology loves me doing. It's where we thrive, which is what you're saying.
Now we're going to keep the puzzle for later. I don't want to forget about that, but I want to take the opportunity to address the other side, which is the hypostimulation, right? The hyper stimulus.
Yep. Yeah, please.
Yes, because what end up happening is that for us, it's very easy to identify when we're out of balance and out of harmony in the winter because we're generally just being stagnant. We're generally gaining weight because biologically we're actually meant to weight a little bit of fat
to
because
store
it's our
for safety.
survival instinct. It's like you
Totally.
have to have some energy reserves. You actually, but to survive, you want to avoid risk and you want to stay indoors. That's just what happens, right? So it's very easy for us to look at somebody in the couch and I'm painting an exaggeration here, but to see somebody indoors and ourselves, to see ourselves not moving as much and maybe not like making sales or like whatever it is that get us going on the other side, and see that with a bad eye, to have a bad connotation to that. That is actually very natural in today's society. But what I recognize, and I have a story about it, is that I went snowbirding to Mexico to a beachfront with my family, and we stayed there for a month and a half about 3 years ago. And I was every single day soaking up the sun. This was in Baja California, so it's cold at the same time, and you get the sun, so you don't really like you can be there all day.
Yeah.
And you actually get the warmest because it's a little chilly. It's during like the high blue light intensity time of the day, which is like when the sun is the strongest. Because again, it's chilly, so that's when you feel the greatest.
Yeah.
And I was out in the beach from sunrise to sunset because that's why I went there. Then I went to a retreat and I got a lot of feedback. And that's during the moment that I realized during my 48-hour fasting, it was a solo fasting trip. I was just with myself and I got all the feedback that I got from the participants of the personal development course that I'm way too high. I have to slow down. Those were the words that people were telling me. And that was the first time that I heard those words. And I was, of course, by myself for 48 hours without eating and without a phone or anything. So I was thinking about that. And I could realize how that was happening every single year. That was just my normal pattern. That was a side of me that I didn't know it existed. How come I couldn't see it? Again, it's easy to see the guy on the couch, the guy down for the count, and blame on him, but we don't blame the guy that is extremely spontaneous, that is extremely aimless, meaning like he's doing a lot, but he's pointing at nothing. The guy that actually might drink a little bit too much sometimes when he goes to social events, and he goes to every single social event. And the list just goes on and on and on. I'm trying to paint a picture that many of us are that guy and we don't recognize it because it's socially accepted. But again, that leads to burnout. Those are the extremes that we want to avoid. We want to be in harmony. And in order to achieve that, the same examples that I was giving you in the winter about increasing my testosterone and feeling more energized, so that the goal in the winter is so I feel great until 9 p.m. Once 9 p.m. hits, I just hit the sack really easily. Because it's not that I just want to be awake by 9 p.m. Like I want to have plenty of energy to be with my kids and to produce and have a great work. And the work that I do in the winter is very different. We haven't even touched on that than the work that I do in the summer. But in the summer, what we want to do is the opposite. We want to slow ourselves down a little bit.
So hard.
It's so hard
when you live for that those short months and it's gone. You have Memorial Day comes. Yay, start of the summer. And then Labor Day's here. Once 4th of July hits, you're like, where did it go? All these things you plan. And then
sometimes,
you go, I'm out of time.
Sometimes we don't realize that the same time happened in the summer and in the winter. We are actually having time is the same, but time moves so much faster because we are moving so much faster.
Is that what it is?
Time is the same time. It's just our perception of time.
Winter drags. Like all the memes that were out last month of January or getting through January. It's a long year. Like January was a long
I know.
year.
Yeah. And it really is. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I love the summer is where I thrive. That's who I am.
Yeah. But that makes
But I
sense that we're
recognize the
moving so much
importance.
quicker.
I recognize the importance of how can I slow myself just a little bit. So now that goes into biohacks, perhaps is the way to put it, or wellness activities like micro meditation. And there are ways I have found them. And again, we have to look at our day. So if we're talking about the winter and we know it's dark by 5, like we can do the same with the summer and recognize that it's going to be bright by 6:30 and it's going to be bright by 9:30 p.m.
Uh-huh.
And we can start planning our day in a way that is in line with that specific season. So it's going to be very different than this other season over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's very easy to see on those two extremes. And then the other two seasons are transitional seasons, seasons. But those two extremes are so easy to identify. So we were talking about breathing, having intervals throughout the day that you can ground yourself. That's the key.
Yeah.
Can you ground yourself a little bit? Because we tend to be out in the air, floating everywhere, going 1,000 miles per hour. The key is that maybe caffeine should be consumed differently throughout the year, and really see how it affects us in the winter, and then seeing how caffeine affects us in the summer, and finding that routine. Again, we are now touching in supplementation and nutrition. Nutrition is another behavior, is the next behavior we look into to understand the timing of our meals and the type of meals, the quality, and how they affect us differently season by season.
Yeah. And you and I touched on this when we were talking off camera, how with my food list on the PH 360, that a seasonal change. And if I didn't now I tell clients expect this, but before I didn't think about it. And they'd panic and say, I was eating this food all the time. And now I don't know where it is on my list, or it dropped way down from an excellent to just an okay. And then when you actually look at the whys, it will tell you, okay, so we went from summer into fall, and it starts getting colder. The body doesn't want to take in cold foods. It throws off the hormone. It throws off everything. We don't process things the same per season. So their foods get adjusted. And I said, where do you look? You're going to see the warming foods start. Ginger goes way up. Right?
Allergy season, respiratory diseases, or just simply the flu. And those are the foods that will help you prevent that, not just to heal it. The idea is that you use the food to prevent those. When again, looking at it from a seasonal perspective, we know that the flu season is in the spring and in the fall, and we can see all those correlations. Diseases throughout the year vary, like they change. So we're just touching the tip of the iceberg when we start looking into it here. All we're doing is just touching the tip of the iceberg. But the seasonal variations throughout the year, they influence everything. Every single advice, every single biohack, every single good thing to do, like the timing that you do it should vary with the season, the intensity. I talk about intensity, timing, and frequency. Even if it's the exact same behavior, you can time it a little differently. Why? Because again, you're going to go to sleep at a different time. So you're going to wake up at a different time. Why? Because the sunrise is happening at a different time. And the list just goes on and on.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%. Did you have any other layers of this onion that you want to touch on?
I think I left the onion behind a long time ago. The last interesting subject that I mentioned we cannot forget about talking was your puzzle at night.
My puzzle that I do at night?
Oh, okay. That is a great activity. And not just the puzzle. Yeah, like the puzzle is one of them, but you mentioned it in a great context. So I want to ask you a few questions. And it's, first of all, you did mention that you do it as you pre-sleep, your pre-bed routine. That's when you play it, correct?
Yes.
The question that I have next is, have you noticed that you play it in the winter and you don't play it in the summer?
Uh-huh. Every time, I was sitting here this winter thinking, what can I do? Because I can sit here and mindlessly watch TV because I'm on fire all day. I have to be. I love my energy to be up. My clients energize me. Doing the podcast energize me. So I'm like this all day. By the time I'm done, even I get peopled out. My best friend messaged me the other day. I looked at it and I'm like, I don't even have the bandwidth to get back to her, to even have a conversation. I just want to be mindless, but I want to keep my mind sharp. And I know a lot of the health types, especially like crusaders, diplomats, they like to read at night to calm. I've been doing all this. I don't want anything I have to think about research wise, anything. It's too much and it'll keep me stimulated. So I want mindless. So I'll find something on Netflix or just something, a good, The Voice, right? Let them sing. I don't pay attention. And I thought, what can I do? I used to love crosswords. So I bought 5 different crossword books on Amazon with different themes and put on my blockers and I sit there and I just go through it and it just brings this calm to me that I don't have to think about. So then when it's time for me to go get ready for bed, then I brush my teeth, wash my face, put my red light on. I do my journaling. I don't stay awake. I start to journal and I'm already like,
boom. Yeah.
I'm right. I write in my journal every night. Can't stay awake. I'm grateful for this, and this.
I'm grateful so I can go to sleep. Yeah.
And that's my routine. And I find when I don't do that, I had to. Another thing I found interesting on a personal level, like all of this is really makes sense to me. I know even in my profile, it tells me by 7 o'clock I should start bringing it down. And I know that, right? I can't stay like this late or I won't sleep. So sometimes I'll go take like a 10-minute, 15-minute stroll when the weather's nicer and it's a little bit later, just to get rid of any energy that's still pent up.
Yeah, of course.
But I sit here in the summertime and it's late. I've had to catch myself because I will work till 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock because it's late. I don't realize like it's late and I get in a groove typing reports and then I can't sleep. My quality of sleep is shit because I've had so much stimulation. So I said, all right. And this was when I burned out a year ago. And I said, all right, now I'm doing a cutoff 7 o'clock. That's it.
Yeah.
And what a difference. People say, can you do an hour Zoom at 6:30? I'm like, nope, takes me past my 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah.
So I brought in the puzzles, but in the summer, I'm still cutting myself off, but I have to try to find other things. Like I said, I'll typically go take a walk and make it very calming. And if I sit to do the puzzle, it's 9 o'clock. And then I go, all right, maybe I'll just do part of this one. Let me see how far I can get a half hour to still calm the brain and calm the body. But it is a lot harder to dive into that because it's so light that in my mind, it's like, I don't need to calm yet. So you really have to create that awareness around it.
Yeah.
It's much easier to do in the winter.
Yeah.
For sure.
There's a lot of, now we just create a little onion on its own and I wanna peel it together.
Okay.
Neuroplasticity and creating novelty has been proved to allow you to age very well compared if you don't have any novelty in your life. And that's where the puzzle idea came from, because at one point it was novel. At one point it was new. And at one point it was very exciting.
Since I was
Also,
a kid.
Huh?
I did them with my grandmother. She taught me how to do them when I was little. That's where I think the piece comes in.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
it's
I can
that
see that.
comfort of taking me back. I know it's great for the brain. She did them till the day she died.
Yeah.
But it's that she was my person just as young as I can remember. Watching baseball.
Wow. Yeah. So it
Watching
has an
baseball with
experience
grandpa.
attached to it. It has
It
an
does.
experience component to it, to a conscious level, because you are aware of it. But more importantly, at a non-conscious level,
I wasn't.
it has a great impact.
I wasn't until this conversation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you,
So you
wow.
peeled that onion back, Ruben, that
Wow.
I didn't
Yeah.
realize was there, but it
That's,
totally makes sense of what when you said not that when you started with the novelty, I'm like, where's he going with this? And then and you said something about it being connected to something, and I thought, my God, that's totally it's like a hug from Graham.
wow.
You tell me calm
So,
down. So that's really
yes.
interesting.
So what will be interesting is, of course, your grandma did it for a long time till the day she died. And the question that might help you also maybe find something is, were you doing it with her during a certain time of the year? I'm just gonna put it out there.
All year.
All year.
I
Okay,
remember
perfect.
sitting
Yeah,
on the
it
porch
doesn't.
in the summer. On the we had a enclosed porch in the summer, and I remember being at the inside table because there was no heat out there. And then in the winter, we were at the big kitchen table.
Yeah. So
So,
now I want you to really see it for what it is. It's an activity that brings you peace, and it's becoming more convenient for you to do in the winter, but you're still doing it throughout the whole year. So what I want us to recognize is that at one point or another, any activity that we do will lose its novelty. Like it will just lose it. If you do it for, it might be a year, it might be 10 years, it might be
yeah.
20 years. It's just going to lose the importance on your brain, that the novelty, the benefits of it will go away. It will just become a habit. So what I encourage us to do is by using the seasons in that perspective. It might not be puzzles for everybody watching this. And I keep saying puzzles. I know it's crosswords, but I have a
These are
hard time
CrossFit, but
saying it.
for other people, I have clients
Yeah,
that their winter thing is doing actual puzzles, putting together on the table the puzzle,
exactly. So
and that's how they get through playing games.
we can call them hobbies.
Yeah. Okay.
So we all have hobbies. We all have activities that we enjoy. What I want us to recognize is, when are those activities more convenient to do? Most likely it's going to be that those puzzles, those books, those games are going to be very convenient to do in the wintertime because they are indoor activities. For some people, might be sewing, quilting, just sitting by the fire, just even putting the fire on is a hobby. It
Sure.
truly is.
Sure.
So those activities, what we want to do is keep it in our seasonal routine when they are the most convenient, and then we might need to say goodbye to them for a season or two, maybe three. But we're going to have that option as we transition into the new season, and we're going to be aware, and we're going to be looking, is this activity something that I want to commit to for the next season? Or this is something that it doesn't really fit or based on myself. Or maybe you start with it and then you realize, you know what? I just want to be outside. So I'm going to change from,
Gardening.
yeah. And you might do the exact same activity and
Yeah.
you might just do it outside.
Outside.
You have,
I
yeah,
will go out and sit on my balcony
yeah,
at 5 o'clock when the sun
yeah,
is just leaving that side and still get a bit of it and just sit out
yeah.
there and do that.
So
Yeah,
that
totally.
becomes
Makes
your
sense.
your puzzle station. So what I want us to think is in compartmentalizing a little bit those activities, because what we tend to do is, when we are not aware, we get into a hobby, we enjoy it, we order them on Amazon, we set up like that the activity corner, right? That's what I do, my thing. The seasons transition, you stop doing it, and then you just get rid of it because you then realize that you actually can come back next year and do the exact same activity, but just in that season,
Yeah.
when it's conductive, when it's convenient, when your body, your biology, when it's actually positive for you, and the next thing you know, you just forgot about it. You put it
Yeah.
in the basement or you sold it. You say, I'm not doing that anymore. You don't put the link that activity is linked to a season. And then that's where the novelty comes in place. When you realize of the convenience and the importance of creating, like performing certain activities, it can be once a week. That's how I plug it into our schedule. It's a once a week 2 hour activity, because it becomes difficult depending on the activity to do every single day. But if you have it in your weekly routine, same day, same time, it will be maybe going for a hike. It will be again, yeah, going for a hike. That is a wellness activity. It will be, again, there's different activities that we can do. So connecting that to a season, and then be willing to let it go, move to the next one, but knowing that you're going to come back to it.
This was an interesting one. Back, God, I guess it's been probably 5 years now. I had a client, he was a police sergeant. And he would get off duty. So we started working together in the late summer. And his little novelty, his thing to help him come down, when he got home, he went out to the garden and he said, I just water. And he said, when I'm watering, I'm just like, that's my meditation, right? I'm watering.
Yeah.
And he was getting into a panic saying, what am I going to do? And I said, this is great because he was police sergeant. We had to work with getting rid of that stress in healthy ways, right?
Of course.
How to manage, and not getting rid of it, how to optimize it and work with it, manage it. And so we said, what's something else we could come up with? What's something else that fills you, that just fills your soul and feels good? He said, nice to build birdhouses. And I loved it. So he started getting all the materials for the birdhouses and he made that transition as we worked together. When the season changed, he went into birdhouse. So he didn't have that. So I wasn't even thinking about it like in the way that you're coming at it. But again, we just parallel. So
yes,
we come together. We actually
yes.
Perpendicular, not perpendicular. Is it perpendicular? Oh my God.
45-degree angle.
Yes, there we go. We intersect. Listen.
We intersect, yes.
But it's the same thing. You just, when you can't do the things that bring you that peace in one season, you find something else to take the place of that still fills you up and brings it to you. Maybe, like you said, it's the same and you're doing it indoors versus outdoors, whatever. But yeah, that, as you were talking about that, it totally hit me that that's what I did with him. And
wow. So what a coincidence.
Again. Yeah. Yeah.
Again, it's about, the important thing is about being intentional. Because if he didn't go to the store and buy the supplies, if he didn't set up the little woodwork station, he wasn't going to be able to perform the activity. Even if he desired it in the moment, it might be like, I want to do this, but I don't have the materials, and really never put some thought into it. So that's where the seasonal transitioning is so important, that it allows us that time. And it's usually about a week or two of, what do I want to do in this next season? Let me really sit down and think about it and then prepare. The other aspect is social connection. So social connection we get from many different angles during different times of the year. And when we're talking about perhaps playing sports, that is a kind of like an extroverted way of getting social interaction. But when you're sitting down and you're doing your puzzles, your crosswords, or when the sergeant is doing his woodworking or watering his garden, I will count that as social dynamics. It's your social environment. And the reason that I count that is because we are either introverts or extroverts. And the seasonality of social dynamics follows a pattern. It follows a cyclical pattern. And during certain times of the year, we have to be intentional about getting out there and connecting. And during other times of the year, we are supposed to be intentional about separating and giving ourselves a little bit of room, because the social dynamics are going to be, well, you're gonna be meeting people so much during that time of the year that, again, you have to know yourself. But for most people, it's good to have a balance. When you know that you're going to have a lot of social events, you should be taking a little bit of time for yourself, and vice versa. If you're going to be by yourself during 3 months of the year, you might want to have that social connection. So what I do is that I ensure that during your weekly routine, you have one time that is basically social dynamics. Is, you can put whatever name to it, but it's a 2-hour slot that you're going to feel differently throughout the year based on the season. Sometimes in certain seasons, it might be day night. Sometimes in certain seasons, like you're expressing, it will be friends night.
Yeah.
Sometimes during certain seasons, it's going to be puzzle night, because I want to be by myself. Because I'm going to need it, because I see the schedule ahead and I'm going to be around people all the time. And if I don't recharge my battery, I'm not going to be in a good place in that social event. So I have to take care of myself. So again, social connection is like the polar opposites, and you want to harmonize them and recognize that there are patterns throughout the year that you can predict, so you can plan for, so you can excel at them.
Love it. Any other layers? Do we cover everything?
Yeah. So no, on that spectrum, I just want to put it out there that that need for connection that you experience over the last few weeks, or the last week, I want you to express that, because I think it brings the example home for everybody that is hearing, because this is a universal experience, especially this time of the year.
Yeah. And I'm very extroverted. When we talk about the health types, I'm an activator, but I am right on the cusp of connector, which is very social. Very your social animal. And I always had all my life the fear of missing out, the FOMO. Terrible. I would be crawling on the floor exhausted, but God forbid I'm not going to miss that event. If someone says, "You missed so much fun," I would be crushed. Like, how did I not do this? So I would force myself to like just
I can see that.
Right. Now I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Sleep is so important to me. I used to be I've talked about it on my podcast. I used to be like the last one on the dance floor. Now I go, all right, if the band starts at 8, I'm going to be good for about 1, possibly 2 sets, and I'll be in bed at a good time. But if it starts at 9, oh God, with driving time, if it's in Denver, that's an hour. Yeah, no. I love it when it's 7 o'clock. I can definitely get 2 sets of dancing in and be home and asleep by 10. That's how I think now. And I'm the first one out, and I don't care. Like I don't fear of missing out anything. But in the winter, and I'm usually doing this all summer long, the winter comes around and it starts about November, around Thanksgiving. And I feel it. It's like all of a sudden you feel like the door is shutting around you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I don't want to come out. It's dark and it's getting cold and it's icky out. Other than my daytime, like I said, when I go hike or ski, that's totally different. But I just don't have that yearning to touch base with people as much. And except for my little circle that we all check in on each other, my people that are close to me. And I get more business minded. This is every time of year. I just start thinking about, where do I want to go with my business? What do I want to do? Last year was the podcast, and I cut everybody off for 2 months because otherwise I can't focus.
That is the time of the year for it. Like,
right.
You are absolutely in alignment with the energy of the season.
So now came February, and I even said to my boyfriend, I was like, I need connection. And he's in Houston. So I don't even get to connect with him. I'm going, I feel disconnected from everybody now. I need connection. So I reached out. What are you doing? Let's go grab dinner. Friend, I went and we went cross country skied together. And then I found like the middle of the week, I didn't have a client after 10 or 11 that morning. And the weekend, I look ahead at the weather to plan my activities. And it was looking like a crappy weekend. And I said, well, you know what? Middle of the week, I'm going to go ski, get on my skis.
Right now, yeah.
And I went out, drove to Wyoming, right? Drove to Laramie, hit the groomed trails, and I just power skied for 2 hours. And the sun was shining. It was like,
you got to take advantage.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And I saw a couple people, and the couple people I talked to were super friendly. And I was like, and then I skied with my friend Friday, and I said, all right, now I'm super connected. Now I can have my chill time again. And that's what I see. But I'm coming out more. I went to a concert last Thursday. I was like, I need live music in my life. Called my friend, hey, Clint Black's coming over to Greeley. Want to go? She's like, let's go.
Yeah.
And it was just to hear the music. It livened me up. And it's just, it makes me feel like summer's on the way. Like the doors are starting to open again. But I know for me personally, it's important to take that downtime. And the people closest to me, I had people last year that didn't get that with me. And I think I wasn't sure I got it with me. And so it didn't go well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not friends with those people anymore. The people that stuck with me, and I was like, thank you for allowing me to go away, to not reach out as much. because I had to do that for me. And you don't ever hear me say that in the spring, summer, or fall, but
Yeah.
I've noticed in the winter, it's an absolute.
So maybe on the summer, we're going to slow down just a little bit, right? Just a
Yes,
little bit.
sir. You
Like
know what?
maybe
I
maybe
am.
1 week out of 4 weeks in a month. And that's the thing, it's like finding the harmony. And the reason that you know that is because you are connected to
Yeah, I'm
yourself and you
connected to
know
myself.
what you
Yeah,
need.
yeah, yeah.
But there is a lot of people that are numb, and our job is to bring awakeness
Bring that awareness.
and build awareness.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And this is what's going on in the background. This is what is influencing you. This is why you feel this way. Let's work together and create routines that will lift you up and make you feel the way you want to feel.
Yes.
Get you to achieve your desire, whatever that is.
Whatever it is. Yeah. And last summer, I took a week off, usually in July. And a couple of years ago, I went to a solo trip out to the Western Slope, Ouray, Telluride, Durango. It filled me up. And I wanted to do another trip this past summer. And as it came in closer and closer, I thought, I think I'm just going to stay here. I was tired.
Oh yeah.
You know, I just thought, I think I need more of a staycation, and I'll do more local hikes that I haven't gotten a chance to do in a while and explore some new places. But it was so much more chill. And I saw I needed that slow down.
You need that, yes.
Just
That's the
right
slow
kind of in
down
the
that
middle.
we're talking about. That is the slow down we're talking
Yeah.
about. So let me touch on seasonal travel, which is very dear to my heart. And it's just recognizing that travel and the type of vacations that we take are at times more impactful, more positively impactful than others. You just
Great.
mentioned on the summer, and there's nothing wrong about traveling in the summer, but I am aware that during the summertime it's very busy, it's very crowded, it's very
Everybody's
hot, it's very, very hot. And in my city, there is actually a lot to do. We actually, that's like
in
during the,
Nebraska.
yeah, I know. In Omaha, it's a lot to do in. Yeah, I know. I gotta send you a list. So I got 3 children under 6, and we are just constantly doing things. And the public pools are open, which is a few blocks from down from our house, and we go there a lot. So there is really a lot of opportunities to, if you want to relax, you can
Sure.
relax. Like the weather is hot, but it's beautiful compared to,
Yeah.
I don't know, 20 degrees.
Yeah.
And a lot of greenery and parks and a lot of activities, a lot of events happening. So it is a really nice time of the year to actually stay home, like you just mentioned. Or
Mhm.
what I do a lot of times is that I take my camper to a big lake down the street, and we park right on the water. And I actually do it without power. So I use a little solar power. So we're on a low mood, like
Yeah.
it's a little lower.
Yeah.
And that's an ideal time to do that. In reverse, what I notice, and this is deeply personal, but again, there's universality to it, is that I benefit, and I'm going to talk for myself, but I know this applies to many, is that I benefit from a winter retreat.
Mhm.
I very much benefit from going to a warm tropical place during the winter time. And I did a study about why is that happening, because I just kept doing it and I kept noticing, and now it's just a ritual. Now something that we don't miss.
Mhm.
And essentially there is the melatonin production throughout the winter, just it seems to accumulate, and don't quote me on this, but then the adenosine, which is and I think I'm saying it incorrectly,
What is it?
adenosine,
Oh, adenosine. Adenosine.
the
Yep.
the adenosine as well. There is accumulation of adenosine throughout the winter because basically it clears off during the day, but as we get patches of weeks where we don't really see the sun that much, whether because we're spending a lot of time indoors because it's freezing outside, or whether because there's simply no light at all sometimes, or very little. And the combination of those two, when melatonin start being produced a lot more, it's a lot darker throughout the day. So we really kind of like overdose on those two. And that also, it leads towards that accumulation, that fatigue, that lethargic feeling as
Yeah.
the winter progresses and gets deeper. So January, February, and March are in a way harsh because of that. So a way to clear those up is to go to a tropical place when you get a lot of light. Now you need to know how to do them because, and I always get depressed when I come back, by the way. I haven't found the way yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to clear your system out, to get into, to lose your muscles a little bit because we get contracted. Like it is what it is. Like those back pains go away when you go to the Caribbean somehow, and then when you come back, they just kind of like appear a week later. But again, talking about seasonal travel is to understand that the same trip during a different time of the year have a very more positive impact when you time it properly. Because another thing that happens is that since I'm so busy in the summer, I actually miss into a lot of activity work related that is actually stressing to go away. It truly is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when I combine that in the winter time and I use that to connect deeper to myself, to nature, to my wife, to relax, it's actually getting into that energy, which is what you're talking about. This is a time of being a little bit on your own. Winter time, you go on your own, you do planning, you evaluate where you are, you see where you want to go, and you start pointing in that direction. And when
Putting it in action.
and then you're already in action. It starts slowly, right? It starts slowly, but when the heat springs, you already got some traction and you are going.
Yeah.
So again, like even traveling during this time of the year allows you to get into that energy and keep gaining momentum and getting clarity, because the winter is a lot about getting clarity and know where you want to go. So you have that direction firmly placed on the car, and then you just push the accelerator when you feel the energy of the spring. That's really our job during the winter time. So just touching on that and bringing a little bit of awareness that that is very important to consider. And as you experience different seasons and different traveling, just realize it's not the place, it's the season.
I love that. It's not the place, it's the season. I remember that. I went to a client's wedding, destination wedding down in Mexico in August. And I thought, August in Mexico. And it was a very tight itinerary, going from the time I got down there. I landed, checked in, and I had to be somewhere in an hour for the rehearsal dinner. It was like quick. But during the day, I found massage therapists on the beach for $35 American.
Yeah.
Every day I was down there with a massage, right? I could just do this and pamper myself. Go, then pamper. Go, then pamper. And to the degree where I've actually realized this year that I can't work myself into the ground anymore, because I will. I want to help everybody. And I've actually cut my schedule down and left myself a day that either I'll use it for paperwork if the weather's bad, or if the weather's bad on a weekend, I might take that day and go do like a ski or go hike or something midweek, just to give myself a break so that I'm more present with people and with whatever it is that I'm doing, and to just dial back a little bit. And I'm feeling better with it. I'm not working as late. I'm actually, with, it seems like less time to do things, I'm getting more done.
Yes, of course.
Not waiting where I have 12 hours of clinical notes to do, which I've done. And it's over 3 days. I can't, there's my weekend. So it really makes sense to tune into this and gain this awareness around what you need, and to do those things that are right for you in those seasons of need, according to your biology, is what I say too. And all of this just makes so much sense, which is why I was so excited to have you on. We have to have you on again.
Yeah, we'll regain a little more energy, and then we will start with the fire that we started, because I can feel the energy already. We've been talking for 2 hours now. 2 hours, yeah. And that brings us to where we can start next time, which is our ultradian rhythm.
Which cranium rhythm?
Ultradian.
Ultradian?
ultradian.
Ultradian rhythm.
Because that's what's
I'm making
happening
a
right
note.
now. When we started, we were at our high, like we just peak our attention and energy, and now
Yep.
we start going down, and now we're our lowest. So we are supposed to take a break.
Yep. And it's 2 hours. I'm supposed to break every 2 hours. I didn't think about
Exactly.
that. That's
That's
an
why we do
activator.
it.
It's like there's work hard, play hard, rest hard. I'm going to, like when we hang up here, I'm going to go have my little snack and I'm probably going to do a puzzle. No, I have to type notes. Then I'm going to go do a puzzle and eat dinner.
Yeah, exactly. That is that we're living what we're preaching, and we are feeling it. Like
Absolutely.
the reason that we say, okay, we gotta stop is because the energy has been dropping for the past 20 minutes. And it's okay, we have a lot to cover, but we're gonna cover it on a different episode.
Yep. And it'll be just as good.
Yeah. So we can bring the energy back up.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Look out. Blow the top off the roof.
Thank you so much, Susan. I look forward to our next episode.
People want to reach out to you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that was my next point. And I truly invite you to join our school community, SKOOL, because I'm basically everything that I'm preaching, that's when we're putting into practice. And it's free community right now. It's open to everybody. We're having like weekly coffees, and we're going to be interacting. And we plan on hitting it hard as the spring transitions, because daylight savings times is coming. So we pay attention to all those circadian disruption, environmental shifts. And of course, we will have links for our Facebook page, Instagram page, just the way you want to consume content, where we're trying to add value, and we also share the content that we are creating, all our podcasts. But yeah, what you can expect in those channels is more of what you saw today. I'm trying to be authentic and put my best version out there. So I look forward getting to know you and see any comments.
Absolutely.
Like I love to see the comments.
Yeah. So bring the comments, people. And we will have all of the links and everything will be in the show notes. So you'll be able to find Ruben there. And then we'll definitely have you on again and talk ultradian rhythm, because I have no idea what that is. So I'm excited to learn. So
yeah, that's the next piece of the layer we didn't touch today. That's where we start wrapping things together and we start developing our daily routines.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for coming on here. It's been such a pleasure to meet you. And everybody, share this with somebody that you know can help. Share it with these people that, like me, that in the winter kind of hibernate, and reach out, let them know they're not alone. And thank you so much for joining us. Everybody, go out there, make it a great day, and be your most authentic selves. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for tuning into my podcast. If you enjoyed this week's episode, I'd love for you to share it with someone who would find the information useful. Also, if you can leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts, it'll help the information get out to others. You can check out my podcast site and sign up for my newsletter for updates and upcoming shows, and that link is in the show notes below. And go make it a great day and let your authentic self shine.